Hey kids, welcome to, what are we calling this now? Movie Club Monday. Yeah. Back to the Star Wars saga. I'm Frank Gaffney. Here with me is Amy Goldman. Who's eating what?
Brooklyn baked pita chips, Parmesan garlic.
Joel Fenster, who's in a film noir or something over there. Mark Wotitzgartner, who has an army of clones behind him. And where in the world is Annie? Oh, you look like you're at home.
At home today.
All right, and Nan's gonna pop in like she did last week. So
Not that.
that's Amy's cousin, Nan, and she loves Star Wars, supposedly, but okay, so Attack of the Clones, but maybe Amy should go first since she didn't get to see Crap episode 1. So you want to talk about...
I'll go after your big recap.
All right, so you're gonna all right. I actually don't have a big recap because Anthony left today for Vegas and I never really got around to
Watching the movie.
writing all my notes. I did watch the damn movie. Okay, this is something I need to explain. Why did she go from being a queen to being a senator? That sounds like a demotion.
A
political post.
Yeah, even the
Is she
title
still
of
a queen and a senator?
No, there's a new queen on Naboo, Queen Jamila, I think they said, and it seems like on Naboo, queen isn't like a royal title; it's a political post that she was elected to.
Like president. President serves 4 years. She served for 4 years, and then
It's dumb because it confuses all of us. Because in the real world,
A queen is a monarchy, and here we're fighting for democracy. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
All right, and if the chancellor has the dark side of the Force, why can't the Jedi sense it? They're sitting like 3 feet from him. Shouldn't it be like, oh my gosh, I feel the dark side? No, nothing.
it clouds their abilities.
Right?
sure.
And then when we see
Sure,
Obi-Wan and Anakin on the elevator, Obi-Wan says, we fell into a nest of Gundarks. That sounds exciting. Why didn't we see that? A nest of
Because the
Gundarks.
Gundarks don't have a political agenda to run through the rest
Yeah,
of the
I honestly don't know what George was thinking with all the political crap. That's not a fun, exciting movie.
No, because we're sitting here watching it, and my wife is like, the parallels to what happened in the last 4 years is just drains any comedy out of that in the movie.
Okay, then. And then Padma says, how did Padma saying, you'll always be that little kid I met on Tatooine, turn into, let's have kids together?
Well, you're missing a step because there's that whole, don't look at me like that, it creeps me out stuff that goes.
Oh, please,
nowhere
but he
fast.
said, when Anakin said, she covered the camera, I guess she doesn't like me watching her. I'm like, no, Perv, she doesn't. Who are you, Mark Gartner?
Right.
And then Anakin, I had to chuckle. Anakin said, the chancellor doesn't seem to be corrupt. Like, that's funny. Okay, so Obi-Wan jumps out of the window to catch the probe. Very, very against character, I feel. I mean, that's something Dick Anakin might have done, but I don't see Obi-Wan jumping out the window. But okay, he jumps out the window, grabs onto the, what is it called?
A robot
The probe. And I don't know what he thinks he's going to accomplish. Because what the probe is going to do what to whom and why and where? Where is it going to take him?
It's going to return to who sent it.
He knows that? It's like a homing pigeon probe?
It's in the script.
Oh, okay. And then when Anakin jumps out of the space pod, Obi says, I hate when he does that, but he just did it 5 minutes ago. It's okay for him, but not for Anakin. I really don't have anything else. The whole,
I can't.
I can't. The whole romance, I can't even call it that.
Oh, I actually zipped through. I did the 10-second zip during it.
Yeah, Skip, that was a good choice. Because he's such a dick. Who would fall in love with him?
Whiny.
Whiny, he's a whiny
Oh my
baby.
God.
But that makes sense, to be honest, because you see how Luke is his son, and he was a whiny bastard.
Yeah, but here's the thing: Luke is only whiny in that first film.
Yes.
he
Oh, because
grows
they're
up,
both young. They're both young, so they're whiny until their like 21st birthday. Then they
Right.
grow up.
and then they grow up. But Anakin,
I get Luke's whininess a little more because he feels trapped in his situation. But here it's all right. I'm gonna stay with the 1.5 star from last week, and that only gets the extra half star because of Star Wars. But it might as well be Iron Man 2. All
Okay.
right, so now Aim, you go first since you saw both of them. You watched both of them today, right?
I watched both of them today.
What a torturous afternoon you've
It was
had.
it was the worst day of my life. Really,
That's-
Phantom
That's
Menace
5
was-
hours you'll never get back.
I know. Phantom Menace was such a fuck fest. I give it 1 star. I hadn't seen it since 1999. I didn't remember any of it except for the big Senate scene where there were all those pods. I just remember, I guess, it really affected me back then. Wow, it was a beautiful shot. But it was so
And-
stupid,
And the ETs were in it.
and the ETs were in it. It was just so poorly written and stupid. And I was like, just end this fucking movie already. And then I got to hit continue and move
Right,
on to the
wait,
next
and you
movie.
said it was obviously written by a child with all the fart jokes and everything.
Yeah, I agree with everything you guys said last week, that it was written by 12-year-old boys who just think fart jokes are funny, and it's just so stupid and not funny. But during both movies, I remember thinking they need to learn from the MCU writers how to do comedy and not childish comedy, for the most part.
well, you do
Well, I
realize
think-
that this was all written before the MCU existed.
Oh, of course,
Yes,
but there are still people who know how to write a science fiction or action movie with
Sure.
good comedy.
And there were people back then who also knew how to do that. But again, we're dealing with George Lucas kind
George
of.
Lucas, right. And it just killed me that after all he read about Jar Jar Binks, he brought him back for part 2.
But I really do feel he reduced his part. Very,
Absolutely,
very, yeah.
absolutely. He wasn't nearly
like,
as much of an
All right,
idiot.
I'll take him out of some
Yeah.
sense. So,
Yeah. Now, one of the things.
but of
I
course
kept
he's going to take over for Senator Amidala when she leaves office because
Sure.
he's qualified.
Yeah, of course. He talks like an idiot, but we've all seen that happen too.
Idiots in the
Um,
Senate.
Idiots in charge. But one of the things I was reading when I was reading the synopsis was, well, of course we have to see Padme and Anakin fall in love. Is that
Sure.
something that anybody knew before Phantom Menace?
Here's the thing we knew was that once they revealed to us in Empire and confirmed it in Jedi that Darth Vader was the father of Luke and Leia, who were twins, if you're going to go back in time and tell the story, at some point he has to copulate with somebody. So, in order to produce those children, unless we go the midichlorian route and they're,
Right.
we go
Immaculate
that way again.
conceptions.
So,
Yeah.
so there needed to be a romance between Anakin and somebody. So
So everybody just assumed it would be her.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, that makes sense. Trying to think of what else.
Oh,
Oh, and
I'm trying to remember now if we had any idea that those were the two that were going to end up together.
well, you knew it would. But there's no other female character for Anakin to wind up with in the film.
But you
Yeah.
don't have to, you shouldn't necessarily think it's going to be the one he meets in Phantom Menace when he's 9 years old, because you still have 2 more movies,
Well,
especially.
I understand that, but if you think about it the way Lucas is going to think about it, he either has to do something to Padme and get rid of her and bring in a third character who
Right.
Anakin can fall in love with, or he
Right.
just plays up the whole, hey, the 9-year-old has a romantic fixation on his babysitter, so let's go with that route.
Yeah, and then in this movie had a huge boner the whole time.
Yeah.
In both movies, I thought the acting was weak, and the script was just as bad. It just wasn't as immature, but it was still terrible. And some of the special effects, Frank, you mentioned last week, it looked like I don't remember who you said, were in front of a green screen, and a bunch of us were like, well, of course they were, but there were times in this one, it was god awful, like when they were in the chariot race scene, fight scene. just awful. And then when Dookie was on the thing like this, he was just sitting there like this with the green screen going behind him. It looked awful.
See, so
No.
George has stuff to fix.
He really does. It was pathetic. So
But he doesn't own it anymore, so he can't.
right. I mean, I'll think of things as you guys all mention things and I'll jump in, but I'm probably going to give this one 1 3/4 stars, with last week being 1 star. It was definitely better, but I'm giving it an extra half star at least because it's Star Wars.
Wait,
And
I,
I
had-
didn't
I,
hate it.
I have to actually say when after we did our thing last week, and then I looked up the trivia because I did the trivia cards. The two things that I want to mention is first about the rat tail, which I did not know, was that the apprentice has a rat tail and it's cut off when he becomes a Jedi Knight. So it's kind of like a circumcision for a Jewish boy. And then
And the ponytail. I realized they have a ponytail and the stupid rat tail.
right. So it gets cut off.
And Amidala's costumes and her
Oh my God.
awful.
Oh my God.
Awful.
How many
in the hair.
costume changes was she going to go through?
I
Like,
know. and they
Well, at
brought
least
back
this
Lucas.
time it wasn't all just hair. Last one, it was just all this crazy hair she had. And then the other thing I thought was interesting was that Hayden Christensen said there was a 5-hour cut of Phantom Menace that was so much better and it blew everybody away.
Was that a dream? Was that true?
It's-
Joel, does this movie exist?
I have no clue, and I hope not.
And that means it doesn't.
Hayden Christensen wasn't even in the Phantom Menace.
Well, but he knew, obviously. Anyway,
Okay.
all right,
Also,
so
another-
1
like-
3/4 from Amy.
Yeah, and you remind me also, again, there were too many crazy, bizarre aliens that were so ridiculous looking. And the Japanese alien, now that I got to see him twice, the mouths don't work properly at all. And one of the things that you mentioned last week was how racist it was and how there was the step and fetch it in the Japanese. And watching today, I remembered how much the critics and the people said that it was very anti-Jewish too, because the guy who sells and cares nothing about
yeah.
money has a
Yeah,
huge
yeah.
hook nose. He wore a little black hat at one point. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah. He was
And
Shylock.
Jews run Hollywood. So how did this get by?
Annie, what did you think? You liked it better last week than any of us did, and this one is marginally better.
yeah, and I still have to say I like last week's better because
Okay.
this one I was just like, oh my God, it's so bad. The dialogue, the acting, and I really just didn't like Hayden in this role. I thought I would love to see if there was anyone who could have done it because he just did a horrible, horrible job on it. I felt,
I
The
didn't
whole-
hate him. Wow.
I couldn't stand him. The whole romance thing was, and
I
in
don't-
the most inappropriate moments, I felt like,
I don't
You
think
know?
that's him though. That's the script. I don't think that's him. You know.
Yeah, but a better
with-
actor might have conveyed it a little more convincingly.
Well, see, I don't know. I agree that it's the script because I think Natalie Portman is a very good actress and she was awful in both of these movies. She just talked like this the whole time. And I realized that was the character, but somebody else might have done something better or just a better script, she would have done better.
The banter between Obi-Wan and Anakin was just
Oh,
cringeworthy.
yeah, definitely. I mean, I thought the best person in this movie was C-3PO. I thought he was the funniest and he had the best going on. And that's about it.
and that
Um,
reminds me, I don't mean to jump in, but that reminded me of something else. As I said, I was going to raise my hand. That, they're having all these big fight scenes and he's got his head cut off and R2-D2 is pulling it and we have to cut to him going, oh, what's a drag? Boom, big fight scene, big fight scene. Oh, I'm beside myself. I mean, who sat around the writer's room and thought this would be good? Oh, what a drag.
There was no writer's room.
You're
Actually,
It
right.
was just George.
Lucas's
that's not-
bathroom.
Not entirely true on this film.
Oh, he had
Jonathan,
help?
he brought Jonathan Hale in after he wrote his third draft to do something. I'm not
Ah.
sure what.
And where's Jonathan Hale from? Something interesting?
He's an old guy who had done British stuff.
Oh,
So I can't remember exactly what he he had done before.
Oh
But
yeah, Natalie Portman had a British accent as Amidala in part 1, but not in part 2. She was like, "Fuck it, I can't do this accent." Sorry, Annie. Go
No,
ahead.
somebody said to her, no, you can't do an accent.
Right.
Yeah. The other thing was really all the costume changes, and I was like, "What is this?" They're
Who does
just-
she think she is, Cher?
Yeah. And then like some of the scenes, it was just like, "Why are you wearing that? That just looks ridiculous." Like,
Right.
you know. So, I thought the best maybe was like the Coliseum fight. You know, like when they were all 3 chained up, and that was kind of a little cool, but. I don't know if it's because like we've seen it now in other movies, right? Something like that. Like in the Marvel, wasn't there one
Thor.
with
Oh,
Thor? Right,
Ragnarok.
right.
I
Yeah.
actually did think when they opened up, I was like, "Oh, I hope Hulk comes and saves this."
Yeah. I thought the storyline of the clones were kind of interesting, but it never really got developed anywhere. I thought like
It does in the TV series, right, Joel?
I'll talk about that when it's my turn. So
okay, but I'm pretty much done. So if I gave it a 2.75 last week, then this one and Spaceballs was 2.5. This one was a 2.6.
Ah, right in between. I love it. And also, I just wanted to say, I think I'm the only one who never saw this movie.
Never saw it?
No.
Oh,
Hi,
I have
Nan.
to
Hello.
this is the one that I probably have seen the least amount of times.
I'm definitely looking forward to the next one.
Do you want to continue?
I'm good. I'm finished. Hi, Nan.
Hello. How are you?
Now she's roaming around again.
Well, I'm leaving the garage from where my patrol car is and going to my own car.
You bring your patrol car home?
No, I just parked it in the police garage.
Oh, I see. So, wait, can you talk or you want to wait to get to the car? Are you
Oh
ready?
no, I'm good at multitasking.
All right,
can
so Attack of the Clones.
Are you telling Nan she should go next?
Yeah, Nan.
Well, I made it through this one.
And you're a better person for it.
It was not much better than the other one, but Annie, how many stars did you give it?
2.6.
2.6. Okay.
I gave it 1.75.
1.5 from me.
Yeah, I'm at a 1.5. The acting was not that great. You knew what was coming. You knew what they were building to. In terms of who the next, how Darth Vader was going to become.
Yeah, I feel like in some way, like the Mel Brooks movie, everything is telegraphed. It's like there's no suspense about it. There's nothing interesting. There's no interesting plot points because we know them all as they're happening. So there's nothing really compelling.
No.
Well, I can't. Anytime you have a movie like that where you know the ending, you're going to have that problem. No.
I'll point again to Titanic in 1776. You know the ending, but it was
Yeah.
interesting.
And
It was interesting
Apollo.
getting there.
Apollo
Apollo
11,
13.
13.
There-
Yeah.
there needs to be, it should never be about the destination. It should always be about the journey.
The journey.
And I
Yes.
think something that.
Wait,
came
can I
to
write
mind-
that down?
Sure, don't quote me on it because everybody said it.
Not
Hey,
about the destination. It's about the journey.
Yes,
That's me and Amy on a road trip. We don't care where we go, as long as we can be
100%.
together. Nan, are you listening to rap music? What's going on here?
No, I accidentally hit my radio.
All right.
You knew it was predictable. There were no surprises. There was no Anakin's character. There was no depth to it. The relationship between him and Obi-Wan Kenobi was stilted. there was no real connection there.
Yeah, I felt
Um,
like Obi-Wan should have just smacked him at some point.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
took
yeah.
so much stuff from, so much sass from him. I'm like, you know what? You're a bitch. Don't you think? He just took so much sass.
But I think
Right.
that makes sense. I think it makes sense personally because Anakin, you
No
know,
little
he's,
respect.
but knowing where Anakin goes on his journey, you got to, and how he's supposed to be he has the most midichlorians. He has an arrogance to him and that obviously becomes more and more. So I could see him challenging Obi-Wan. I did agree that I agree with what Nanda
Yeah,
said. I mean,
But
it was
but-
horrible to watch just because the acting and the script was so bad. But that part of it, I like that he was such a pain in the ass because it made sense.
yes, I know, but wouldn't you at some place say, okay, you're done, get out? You're an ass.
And
Yeah.
the one thing I never understood in the first three movies, which was not 1, 2, and 3, they always said the force was surround you, and all of a sudden now the force is within you.
I think it's both,
That
you know.
Yeah,
I mean, because of the midichlorians, it becomes in you.
yes. Yeah.
Oh, she's in that bad area of
Force.
Michigan again.
we'll never know. This is like when I don't remember its name, said, the murderer is,
And then
that happened in this movie.
there was just nothing. There was no connection there. It was just kind of like George Lucas was making movies just to continue the story, and there was just no feeling behind the movie.
And all the CGI he wanted to show.
Yeah.
And Jar Jar Binks's character was still in the movie.
But
Yeah,
a
we
lot
said
less.
that before, but he's definitely less and definitely not as stupid as part 1, but he needs to go.
Yeah. So
We could cut him out of part 1.
I give it a 1.5.
All right.
That's what we have. All right, Mark G, with your Attack of the Clones behind you.
It's a great shot.
It
Yeah,
is a great shot.
I enjoyed that part of the movie. That and I guess I'm going to be closer to Annie. I'm going to go with 2 1/3 stars. My memory was that this was my favorite of the 3. I actually own this DVD. I don't know why, because when
Well,
I started
own
watching,
all of them. You just
Uh,
it's being a completist. Why do you
But I
think
don't
Joel?
own-
Why do you think Joel has 2,000 DVDs?
I know
I
I
wish
know.
it were
Because-
2,000.
because he's a film freak.
Is that
as we
a
all know.
low estimate?
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, but I don't own part 1 and 3. I only bought this one.
You
So I
have
don't know
to
why.
have.
That's weird.
It is weird. I agree. Anyway, I like the story somewhat. It moves everything along. I agree with what everyone said. It was not done well, but the overall story and the action, I liked a lot of it. I did like the big arena scene at the end, but I also hated C-3PO's lines. It was like everything that was good about it was marred by poor script, poor
What's bad
acting.
about it?
But I liked finding the missing planet and Obi-Wan going out and finding, right away, Jango Fett. All right, that's going to be Boba. I mean, like you said, I guess it really didn't. It was pretty easy to see what was coming, but at the time, at least, this is the first time you're seeing it unfold before you. So I still had a little bit of those memories, and so I didn't hate it, but I just feel like, if they had taken away Jar Jar completely and just fixed the script a little bit and gotten a different actor, then I do think that Hayden Christensen was that wasn't just the script. I think some of it was just him. This would have been a 3-star movie, or even more if some of this had been fixed up. I'm going to be nice. I'm going to go, because I know everyone's going to shit on this movie, so I'm going to give the positive stuff that I liked. I said already before about Anakin being arrogant. The first shot of the clones, I think that's behind me. When you realize that, that they're the stormtroopers, I thought that was a great shot. Those seismic charges that were obviously THX, whatever, the sound on that I thought was really cool. That's basically it.
Okay,
And
that was
the only thing I have to say is,
positive.
those are the only positives. Did anyone else get the feeling that everything that we're doing in this movie club revolves around Sam Jackson?
I totally forgot about his character, and he looks so
He's
young.
everywhere. And Nick Fury is still pulling the strings.
Yeah. He was a baby.
Yes. He was, I don't know how old he is. He was probably my age at this, but I
Yeah,
remember
he
him
had to be in
being
his
so old.
40s.
And now I'm looking at him like he's young.
He's in his 70s now, so you know he's got to be
Oh,
what?
he's already in his 70s.
Yeah,
Yeah, he was in his 50s, right?
he's in his 50s.
Still looks, I was like, whoa. Oh yeah, he's in this movie. And just like Django Fett, it's a name that I had always heard. And finally I got to see who he was. And it was, what's his nuts, Boba's dad. And yeah.
He's also Aquaman's dad. as
Yes.
Joel.
Oh, really? Well, I didn't know
actor.
him.
That's
Yeah.
another brilliant movie.
Are you being sarcastic?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Oh, I never saw it.
I couldn't even get through it.
Oh,
All
I
right, so
I like it, but anyway,
we'll get to it when we get to it.
yeah.
When Nan comes back, we'll get to it.
2022.
He's gonna be
Yeah.
gone that long?
Who knows? She's in Michigan.
Okay, Mark, I had a question, but now I've forgotten it. But all right, let's go to Joel.
Aw.
Now, if I
Joel,
remember, if-
Joel, who is also the forget it.
He's a mess tonight.
This
wow,
is terrible.
This morning.
what happened?
It's
When Anthony's away?
What?
When Anthony's away, you can't think of anything.
Yeah.
No, here it is. So Joel is the home of the National Film Registry.
Right.
Yes,
I
every movie ever made.
No, I wish. Anyway, so if I remember correctly, I gave Phantom Menace 1.5 stars.
Maybe, I don't know.
Nobody
What do you
remembers.
got?
I think it was 1.5 stars. It's
Right.
one of those things I got to base off of what I previously gave.
Right, sure.
I, like Mark, I'm gonna start with some positives because for me there are a number of positives in the film. I think the film we're getting away from the warfare
Stupidity.
and stupidity of the previous entry. I think that for me, the part of the story that works the best is everything involving the clones. With Obi-Wan going to Kamino, and I love the fact that we're on an ocean planet where it's always raining, because it reminds me more, one of the things that Lucas wanted to bring to the table was that feeling of the old Flash Gordon serials, where the various places in Mongo were all very different. And when he created Star Wars because he couldn't get the rights, you don't really get a lot of that in the original trilogy. But now all of a sudden in this movie specifically, I feel like it feels more like parts of it are really coming out of the Alex Raymond art. So Kamino and Geonosis, I mean, especially the arena scene, it's with the creatures that are trying to kill them. It just has this Alex Raymond feel, and I love that.
Alex Raymond being Flash
Alex
Gordon.
Raymond was the creator of Flash Gordon.
All right, show your shirt, Joel.
Oh, well, this is the logo from the 80s camp. So
Yeah.
anyway,
Is Geonosis supposed to be a take? Is that a real something, or is it supposed to be a take on the name Genesis?
my guess is George Lucas spelled something wrong and moved on.
Like, I would keep it.
I think that's how he comes up with names half the time.
Ridiculous name.
Or he would ask his kids, "Hey, what should I name this character?" And they'd say Sketty.
Yeah, what's the new Sith we heard about today? Tyrannosaurus
Tyrannus,
Rex? Come on.
Tyrannus.
Yeah, Darth Tyrannus. I think that those aspects work for me. The arena scene is exciting.
Better than the pod race, for sure.
Oh my God. Another one I went like this,
Yeah.
10 seconds. We know how it's gonna end.
It's chaotic, and some of the shots are just kind of like, all right, enough, let's focus in on one area, but for the most part it works, and as I said, it's exciting. And I like some of there are a lot of interesting background characters that Lucas introduces us to, even briefly, that I would love to see more of.
Like so,
And we do see more. The other Jedi, for example. I mean, they look interesting. They look like they're interesting people. Who are they? I mean, I could tell you some of their names, and they won't mean anything to you because you don't really know them in this. But the biggest thing that this film did was get us the Clone Wars TV series, which is interesting. It's infinitely better. It's exciting, and you get to meet all of these other interesting characters that are kind of in the background of this film.
Well, you know, I really do think that after the fan and critic reaction to the first movie, George thought, ooh, I better make this one more better. And so he took some of that to heart.
Maybe. I don't know. It is a better film than the first one, but even the silly stuff isn't boring. It's just silly. And as I've said before, for me, a film is deadly if it's boring, and The Phantom Menace is boring. It's badly
I
paced.
definitely, yeah, having watched them back to back today, I
Yeah.
definitely could see a huge difference in the, at least piquing my interest.
Yeah, and I'm not
And
saying
certainly
this isn't necessarily infinitely better paced film. It's still
Right, right.
a Rocky
But-
Slow point. And obviously, as we've all said, that if you're basing this on a romance that needs to be there, it needs to be like Jack and Rose. It needs to be like Romeo and Juliet. It needs to be like Leia and Han. And we're getting a really creepy kid and an older
With a
woman.
boner.
Yeah, who's trying to, and a woman who's trying to get away from him for like half the film, and none of the motivation in that romance makes any sense.
No, all of a sudden she just went, I love you.
Exactly. It's we need to move this along.
I think you're right, Joe, but I
Right.
feel like, it didn't have to be a real, romance like Romeo and Juliet or something, but at least a little more believable about
yeah,
how they were attracted to each other, even though they weren't in the same realm.
right.
They're both really, really good looking.
And that's all that does it, I guess.
Yeah.
The other big thing is there's a moment in the film that should have been bigger and couldn't be because of the script and the actor. And when Anakin's mother dies, that should have been a big moment, a big emotional moment, not just for him, but for the audience. Should have had more of a connection. And that's the big problem, is we don't have connections
Didn't care.
these
Didn't
major
care.
characters. We don't care what happens to them because there's no, we know where it's going. You
There's
know?
also no depth to them.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Not
and
at all.
we didn't really know the mother well enough to like her enough that her
Correct.
death would affect us. I mean, obviously
Correct.
it would affect
But
him.
It needed to have that in some manner. And it just, to me, it's like, okay, he's on Tatooine. He finds out what happens to her. He's gonna go rescue her anyway. He gets there and he unties her and she dies.
It was so bad. It was just like,
Yeah,
And
I can say the way she died, she just went, it was so weird.
oh, so
it's like,
bad.
if he hadn't gone to rescue her, she probably would have lived longer.
I did like seeing Uncle Baru and Aunt what's her nuts, or Aunt Baru
Yeah,
and Uncle Owen and Baru.
Did you catch that was Joel Edgerton?
No.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, Uncle Owen.
Interesting. And they had it back in the same house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
And
it's,
that's what,
go ahead.
and
course
that's
they
why
lived in
that's
there.
those parts of this movie I enjoyed, especially when it first came out, despite the bad act.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure when it first came out. Sure.
Yeah, by that point you had memorized the first three, so you knew every nuance of it, and that is fun to see some of that come
Do
around.
you guys remember anybody reacting in the theater when you saw Owen and Baru? Like, ah! Because I would imagine.
I don't think so.
it was cute.
We were so numb by that point.
I had other things going on when I saw that, if you remember correctly. So
Oh, yes, yes, yes. of
2002.
course. Yes.
I didn't get
It
to it
was a
for,
big year for Joe.
yeah,
For
It
Joel's
took me-
spleen, yeah.
my spleen. Yes, so it took me a while to get to the movie. So
You could have called George Lucas and said, I could die. Could you show me the movie?
yeah, but after the Phantom Menace, I didn't know that I wanted to see it again.
Yeah.
I thought you were gonna say after the Phantom Menace, I didn't know if I wanted to live anymore.
Right. That's what caused my spleen to explode.
That was it.
It just took 3 years. I'm gonna, Mark, what did you give it?
2.33.
I'm gonna go with Mark.
2.5.
I'm
You're gonna go with 4?
yeah. No, yeah,
With
no.
Mark, not 4.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with it too. Nah, you know what? I'm gonna give it a 2.5.
2.5.
Admittedly, the prequel series, I obviously I have not seen them as much as the original series, but I've seen them more than the sequel series,
Oh,
just
really?
because they're older.
Right.
So
Yeah, I've only, again, this is only my second time watching this.
Oh, wow.
this is probably my third or fourth tops, but you know,
Everybody
I know
else?
And
Anyone?
Joel, I feel,
Third or fourth for me too.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah?
Probably around that many times. Yeah.
you're all gluttons for punishment.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And Joel, I feel like your 0.5 is really based on stuff that happened since then.
yes, it is. It's based on the fact that
Because
this
you're like, oh, I'm glad they set that up because that's
Yeah.
nice.
And
In
I'm
the
okay.
Clone Wars.
Yeah, and I'm okay with stuff like that because Clone Wars is, and if you get a chance, you should watch it. Like right now, we just finished watching The Bad Batch, which is a sequel of sorts to the Clone Wars series, and it's really interesting. And there's stuff that, you know, relates back to this movie a little bit in that. So
Okay,
and
this is exactly what happened when you said the Clone Wars and we're watching the Bad Batch. Amy went like this. I was like, that's a weird comment on him watching the Bad Batch.
The little gnat.
Yeah, I got that. Yeah, we are in the midst of watching Mandalorian series 2.
Oh,
So,
really?
Yeah, I'm really enjoying it. Okay, so is that it, Joel? You're done?
Yeah, I think I've said enough.
Nan, do you have anything else to say? Or are you frozen? She looks frozen.
Oh my gosh, she looks like the Joker. in
I was
the
about to
screen.
say, but the grin is.
That's some grin you got going on there, girl.
All right. So and all right. So What If is still going on. So I watched.
Oh, I didn't
already.
watch this week.
Yeah,
What
I
was this
watched
week?
it.
I loved this week's episode.
What was this week?
What was
Doctor
this?
Strange.
Strange?
Doctor
Oh,
Oh, no,
okay.
I haven't seen it yet.
I'll watch it maybe later.
But I did go yesterday to see Shang-Chi, which was great fun. Great fun. You're all gonna love it.
Cool.
Yes. Are you going this weekend, Annie? Did you say next weekend?
I think we have to try for a Friday night.
That's fine with me.
Okay.
Okay.
I'd rather that than a Sunday, honestly.
We're going.
Okay.
Monday.
All right, Nan is back. Nan, you have any last comments before we go?
it's kind of hard because I apologize. It's raining here, so service.
I feel like I'm
going in and
talking to.
out.
I feel like I'm talking to cousin Jerry from the Facts of Life.
Wow.
Wow. I mean, come on, the woman is in Michigan. It's not like she's in fucking Tatooine or something.
Obviously, she
Come
is.
on.
I think it's the yeah.
Well, she's just driving through rural areas.
Driving. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's it for us. And
Valiant effort, Nan.
and thank you, obviously, if you got this far in the video. But we don't care because we really do this for us. I love hearing what everybody has to say, and Joel's always a font of information. So I
Love our nerd.
All right. Thank you all. May the force be with you.
What's next week?
Oh, what's next week?
Episode 3.
Episode 3.
Revenge of the Sith.
Revenge of the Fifth.
By the way, one quick thing about the title.
Right.
When do the clones actually attack in this movie? They don't seem to be attacking. They're kind of brought in. They don't really, Anyway,
Agree.
But it was a good title, Attack of the Clones.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, and I had no idea what
'Cause-
clones. I mean, I knew what clones were, but not within the realm of Star Wars. And still,
Right.
up until today, I was like, "What are the clones? Where do they come from?" So that was fun.
If you had called it Creation of the Clones, would you have thought
Yeah.
that was a great title?
No,
It would have matched the Phantom Menace.
Who was the Phantom Menace after all that?
is
Oh.
it Darth Maul?
I think
Darth
it's
Maul's
no. I think it was
Chancellor Palpatine.
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 Oh, Palpatine.
Darth-
They
Darth-
don't feel that they don't sense that he's on the dark side.
right.
Okay. May the force be with you.
And also with you.